When you're young and dumb, time seems to go really slow. You don't really have complete financial autonomy, so there are a lot of things that you want that just seems to have escaped you forever. But now that I'm no longer young and dumb, just dumb, but I do have financial autonomy, I'm very grateful I'm able to afford certain things. I still can't believe this is real. The young me would never believe it, but I have in my hands one of the greatest KD4 colorways ever. Nike Zoom KD4 Nerf. This shoe is dropping on August 9th for $150, slightly more expensive than other KD4 retros. Originally, it dropped in 2011. It was a very, very popular and limited release. A lot of people, especially my age, if you were a teenager back then, really wanted the shoe, but of course, didn't have the financial means to get this shoe. And finally have it in hand. First impressions of the KD4 Nerf in 2024. It is so funky, it is so bold. The colors are just wild. But yeah, the nostalgia factor is just hard to beat. It really is. If I saw the shoe like without any nostalgia tied to it, I'd be like, maybe it's a bit too much for me, a bit too wild, but yeah, it just brings you back to a certain point in time of my life. I just cannot say no. This needs to stay in my rotation. I actually did let go of the KD4 Weatherman earlier this year. I wore it to play once, and then I had to choose to keep certain shoes. I can't keep everything I review, and I knew the Nerf was coming, so out of the two, I decided I had to pick one. I really wanted to keep the Year of the Dragon 2.0, so that was not up for grabs. But the Nerf, something about it, it is just special. And I do want to apologize, I wasn't able to get B-roll like at a basketball court for this shoe specifically. I have to use KD4 Weatherman footage. I've been having some health issues, haven't been able to play ball at all, but I still wanted to review this shoe. But this shoe should perform exactly the same as the KD4 Weatherman that returned like in May or April. And the KD4 is the first shoe to use Hyperfuse. So Hyperfuse is essentially 3 layers. So you have this skeleton, and then you have a mesh layer over it, and then finally this outer shell. So you see this kind of metallic, matte looking material. It's hard to describe how it feels if you haven't touched it before, but it almost feels kind of like tin foil or the mix of like synthetic leather. I don't love how it feels, but one good thing about this material is that it's very durable, and the creasing on this, it's barely noticeable. So like after you play ball in them, you wear the hell out of them, you don't really notice it. And around the back towards this heel counter, you see the swoosh as well as the KD logo that is printed. That just feels very cheap, almost like you can completely just rip that off very easily. And what's also printed is the Nerf logo that is on the tongue. And then on the left shoe on the tongue, it says KD35. And of course, one of the most distinct things about the KD4 is that strap across the shoe that is officially the adaptive fit system. It literally actually says adaptive fit on the inside of the strap. The strap is pretty flimsy, it's like very thin, but I'll get to sizing and fit later. It actually works pretty well. And on the strap itself, you see another swoosh, as well as this splatter pattern all over, and you'll see these wild splatter patterns all around on the ankle collar as well. One thing I will say, there's not a ton of cushioning on the ankle collar. So yeah, very, very funky colors on the shoe, a lot going on, but this is what makes the KD4 Nerf very special. And a very, very subtle detail on the heel is the words Big Chucky. That was Kevin Durant's youth basketball coach, who unfortunately passed away at age 35. And that is why Kevin Durant first wore 35 when he first joined the NBA. Now this shoe doesn't come with any extra laces, just blue laces. I think if they went super wild, like give us that neon green as an extra set of laces, or even the pink, I think that would have looked pretty cool. I mean, if you're already going for such a wild colorway, why not just go all the way? And the KD4 does come with a Phylon midsole with a Zoom Air unit just on the forefoot. I haven't played ball specifically in the KD Nerfs, but I did play in the Weatherman, the retro from earlier this year. Very dense Phylon, you can barely feel the cushioning on your feet. It is a setup that I'm pretty used to. I did grow up in like Phylon midsoles, 2 Zoom Air units, or 1 Zoom Air unit, like the very good Hirashi 2K4s. But as I'm getting older, I do realize that I need more cushioning on my basketball sneakers. So cushioning wise, if you don't like a very, very low profile court feel, definitely keep that in mind. This is very flat to the ground. Yeah, you don't really feel the cushioning much at all, especially compared to modern day shoes. And the shoe does have a rubber outsole with not really herringbone traction, but you see like Thunderbolt patterns. Of course, when the KD4 first dropped, Kevin Durant was with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And very subtly at the top of the toe box, you'll see the name Barbara. That is Kevin Durant's mom's name. As well as Tony Man, that is his brother. His brother's name is Tony, but they call him Tony Man. And in this little cutout, again, very subtly, you'll see the words or phrase designed and engineered to the exact specifications of Kevin Durant's signature. And then on this green area of the outsole, stay focused on the right shoe and work hard on the left shoe. And at the very bottom of the heel, you'll see Seat Pleasant. The A's are replaced by stars. Seat Pleasant is a place in Maryland. That is where Kevin Durant grew up. So a lot of details just on this outsole itself. I love it. I love good storytelling on shoes, and these little minor kind of quirks I'm just a big fan of. And overall, traction wise, the KD4 does perform very well, especially in like a well-maintained gym. This rubber is pretty firm as well. And one good thing about this traction pattern is that it's got pretty big gaps, so like dust and rocks and stones won't really get caught between the patterns very easily. So this should do pretty good outdoors as well. The insole of the shoe is branded as well. And apologies, I can't actually rip this insole out. It is glued so tightly. The materials doesn't feel like the best insole or anything. Didn't expect too much for a $150 Nike shoe. In the box of the shoe, a very special box, of course. KD35, and inside Nerf branding, Nike branding. And initially when this shoe first came out in 2011, it came with a hoop and a basketball. No signs of that in the 2024 version. This is just not as special. Now moving on to sizing, comfort and fit. I am a wide and flat footer. The KD4s are a pretty narrow silhouette, but I still go true to size. It does feel very snug. For my performance shoes, I do really prefer a very snug fit, almost like a sock. So I still recommend, whether or not you have wide feet, just go true to size. There's very minimal heel slippage. This adaptive fit system, like I mentioned before, it actually works pretty well to keep my foot like locked down. And you'll see like this outrigger of the shoe extends pretty far out, so that is to prevent your feet from rolling. There's also a midfoot shank plate with the KD4s that provides more rigidity as well as support. And the heel counter is also very solid, very firm. So the KD4 overall provides a pretty snug, pretty narrow fit, pretty good support and lockdown. So when I'm stopping on a dime, carts, driving hard to the basket, don't feel like my foot moving too much around the shoe. Yeah, the overall fit and lockdown is very decent on the KD4. Still a pretty lightweight shoe. If you're into low-cut basketball sneakers, the KD4 in 2024 is still a very good option. Now usually for retro and casual shoes, I go through the sole score and give it a score out of 40 or 50 if it's a collaboration. However, for performance basketball shoes, those metrics don't really make sense. So no sole score, but I will say final verdict of the KD4 in 2024. It's a decent shoe. It's not the best, definitely not the best, especially if cushioning, really solid cushioning is your priority. I would recommend something more modern. But if you're just like playing pickup, you really want a low profile feel to your basketball shoe with sufficient lockdown and support, the KD4 is still a good option. If you came of age during like a 15-year window from the late 90s to around the mid-2010s, you would know how special this shoe is. And maybe the younger generation now doesn't really think this is a big deal. Maybe they don't even like it too much. And honestly, there's a part of me that still can't believe I'm holding this shoe in my hand. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Sole Inclined. Let me know what you think of the KD4, Nerf, like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. And remember, tomorrow may never come, so wear your shoes.